Hello and welcome back to the Goodness Margin, the place where we find margin for the good things in life. Today, I'm going to be sharing some tips with you regarding one of my very favorite vacations that I've ever been on, a cruise. Thankfully, when we went on our first family cruise, we went with some friends and they had several cruises under their belt. And so they had some tips to share with us beforehand going in. And then my husband and I were blessed to go on another cruise to celebrate our anniversary, and it was so wonderful. But throughout the cruise, I noticed some things that if I wouldn't have known ahead of time, it would have been a big problem, or things I wish I would have remembered. So if you're new to cruising, I would love to share with you a few tips that would definitely make your time a little bit more enjoyable and make some things easier for you. First are some things before you go. And again, I'm just speaking from my personal experience. I have found that booking through the company Vacations to Go, this is not a sponsored video or this is not an affiliate or anything like that. It's just my personal experience. I found a major price difference between booking directly with the cruise ships and booking with Vacations to Go. And also through Vacations to Go, you're able to find an agent, and that agent will help walk you through the things that you need. They'll ask you if you want insurance, they'll help you with your dinner reservations, all of those things. I've had some family that booked a cruise directly through the cruise, and they did not have any of that assistance, and they paid about double what we ended up paying for our cruise. With Vacations to Go, how it works is they just take those leftover cabins and they're able to sell them for a lot less. So you may have a little bit less choice, but you are going to pay far less money. That's my first tip. If you're looking to go on a cruise, I definitely recommend that you visit vacationstogo.com and look that up. Just a personal tip for you. Also speaking, before you go on the cruise, any cruise line that I know of has an app now. And what they'll do is on that app, you go in, you can create a login, put in the cruise that you have, your whatever confirmation number or however they need you to put that information in. And they will notify you when it's time for you to check in, when you're available to make reservations for things. And so be sure as soon as you book that cruise to download that app, and that way you will know when you need to check in and all of those types of things. Also, before you get on the boat, there's a few things that you want to think about. Maybe you decided not to bring a physical book, but you want to read a book on your phone or your iPad. But if it's on the cloud, you need to be sure to download any videos, music, books, games. I rarely play games on my phone, but I didn't have any. We chose to not purchase the Wi-Fi package because we wanted to really unwind, and also it's kind of expensive. And so I played a game on my phone. I had one game downloaded. So when we got to the next port, I was sure to download some more games. So be sure to have anything that you want to have access to downloaded. A big tip is if you do not have paper tickets, which everything that I had was digital, you want to take a screenshot of it or you want to download it. I was able to save our passes to my Apple Wallet because when we entered that big building that you're going into to check in before you get on the cruise ship, the internet was horrible. There was no Wi-Fi, there was no internet, and I saw a lot of people really struggling to pull their information up. And thankfully, I had mine saved where I didn't have to have cell phone service in order to access our passes in order to check onto the ship. So that's something you want to think about, that internet is very spotty on the ship, even if you are at port. Before you go on the cruise, you also want to call your cell phone provider. You will have multiple stops on most cruises, and you can just let them know the places that you're going. A lot of places, especially in the Caribbean, you will have free cell phone service. And one thing I found is that you can't make calls. Those are 25 cents a minute, but you can FaceTime because data is totally free. You can text, you can do all of those things. You can check your email on your phone. So you want to find those things out. And then I don't remember where it was, but there was one port where that it would charge us for everything. So we left our phone on airplane mode. So go ahead, call ahead. That'll keep you from having any horrible charges when you get home. You don't want to come home to that. Call your cell phone provider before you go on the cruise. If you book through Vacations to Go and you have a travel agent or you have any other sort of travel agent, they will probably walk you through this. But if you are getting your cruise directly through the cruise line, you want to be sure that you have scheduled a dinner reservation time. They have like the My Time dining, and they call it a lot of different things. And so you can wait in a line and you'll get a table whenever one is available. And I saw those long lines when we were going in. But anytime we have gone on a cruise, we already had a dinner reservation time booked. And that was so convenient. If you don't want to go, if you're doing something different that day or you want to eat somewhere different on the ship, you don't have to go. You don't have to call anybody or cancel or anything like that, at least in my experience on the ships that I've been on. But it is so wonderful to walk right in and you go right to your table and you have the same waiter every time. He would bring us, and my husband drank a Coke and I drank water with lemon, and he brought that to us every time. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. But I've also talked to some people who didn't have dinner reservations and they missed out on that really special dinner experience. So be sure that you have a dinner reservation booked before you get on the ship. My husband and I, when we went for our anniversary, we wanted to sit by ourselves. Sometimes if you're a couple of two, they'll make a large table of 6 or 8 people and put you with other people. I love people, but we were on this for our anniversary. And so we wanted to have dinner, just the two of us. So when we first got on the ship, we went straight to the dining room that was listed on our ticket of where we were going to be dining. We asked the maitre d' if we could see where our table was. And he said, it's our anniversary. Just want to be sure it's for the two of us. And he confirmed that happened. I have some friends that ended up sitting with some people who were really obnoxious, and they ended up not going to the dining room for the rest of the trip because the people were so obnoxious at the beginning of the trip. You don't want to do that. You want to check that out. Make sure that you are getting part of the wonderful experience of a cruise is the dining experience, because you are eating a really wonderful meal every night with really, really great service from your waiters. And you don't want to miss that opportunity. So be sure, if you want to sit by yourself or if you want a special dining time, take care of that before you get on the ship. And the last tip of before you get on is if you plan on purchasing any extra add-ons, you want to do those before you get on the boat. There's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I found in the app that through different times, they'll notify you that those go on sale. For example, I love coffee, especially if you follow me on Instagram, you know how much I love coffee. And I wanted a good cup of coffee every morning. And so I was able to purchase their special coffee package. I got it for 30% off. And so when I got on the boat, that was already available for me. And I saw these really long lines that people were waiting to purchase those when they got on the boat. But I didn't have to wait in that line because I'd already purchased it and I received it for a discount. The same thing for my husband. He ordered the soda package and they gave him this cup. He just had to show them his card. It had a little note on it. They had the soda package. And so it made it so simple. So any of those add-ons, definitely purchase those before you get on and you will avoid those crazy lines. Now, just a couple of things that I like to bring with me on a cruise that you may not think of. One of those is for myself. I always bring a light sweater. I wore it almost every night to dinner, especially after you get a little bit of sun and your skin is really warm. You get into that cold, air-conditioned room, and I wanted a sweater. And even sometimes on nights, if you're sitting out on a deck and the wind is blowing off of the ocean, it can actually feel pretty cool. Even if you're in the middle of the Caribbean during the day, it's 85 degrees. So bring a shawl or a light sweater. You definitely will not regret that. Another purchase that you can purchase ahead of time and bring it on the boat rather than purchasing it on the boat are lanyards, especially if you have kids with you. You can buy lanyards and buy those that have the little pocket in them, and that way they can slide their SeaPass card. That's the way they're going to get into their room. That's the way they're going to access any of their activities. And so that is a great purchase. You can get those for pennies on the dollar if you order them on Amazon compared to what you're going to pay for those once you get on the ship. And I'll also link some of those below for you. In a previous video that I will link right here, I talk about packing for vacation and I share some of my favorite things for medicines, for laundry, and those are going to be linked in that video right here. So be sure to check that out. Now, a few other last minute tips that we learned. We had a situation where that we checked some pool towels out and then we ended up not using them. And our steward for the room said we could leave them in the room. Well, we left them in the room and then we were charged $50 a piece for them. So I had to call. I was on the phone like 30 minutes. It's not that big of a deal, but it was kind of annoying. And so in the future, I will make certain that if I have to check something out on the cruise ship, that I will take it back and check it back in rather than depending on someone else to do that. It's just a quick little tip that I learned from our last cruise. Something else that we wish that we would have brought with us is a fan for the room. Now, we flew and we would not have been able to do this, but if we ever go on another cruise and we drive, we will definitely bring a small personal fan. For whatever reason, it ended up getting kind of warm. And while we cranked the air all the way up, you kind of have a setting that's just basically low to high is what we found. It wasn't like a temperature number. And I guess the boat was pretty warm. And we wish that we would have had a fan. So that's something we will definitely bring with us next time. And then the last thing that you want to be sure to have with you is money for tips. You will be charged gratuities while you're on the boat, but you want to additionally tip those people who have done a really great job. So you want to bring smaller bills, 20s and 50s, that you want to tip those people with. And be sure to bring those in the amounts that you're thinking that you want to do. You can Google and look up how you want to tip. I'm not going to go into all of that, but we had a couple of people who were really amazing and we got to know more about their family and all of that on the ship. And so we wanted to give them something additionally. And we ended up having to wait in a pretty long line to break some hundreds in order to do that. And then we also ran out of cash. And so, because we just didn't bring very much cash with us. And so next time we go on a cruise, we'll definitely be more mindful of that and break that money down and have that cash with us ahead of time, just so we don't have to go through the cruise line. I would like to directly give those cash to those people who have made our cruise so amazing. For me as a mom, a cruise is a really, really great vacation. If you break it down per day, it is one of the least expensive vacations that we have ever been on. And that is because we did book it through Vacations to Go and we're able to find an amazing deal. But my kids are hungry. There's always food available. Our teenager, we had the app, then we could access him throughout the ship. And so he could kind of go do his own thing sometimes. It really took so many decisions that I have to make on a daily basis and then even have to make on a vacation. So sometimes vacation doesn't feel like a vacation because you kind of have a decision fatigue about having to decide all the things for all the people. With a cruise, it takes that away. It is truly so relaxing. For me personally, I have thoroughly enjoyed that and definitely want to go on another family cruise. So I highly recommend that you check into it if you haven't already. They're a lot of fun and you can find all kinds of information online about those.